morning, another chilly one. I've already started doing what I'm doing. I was going to film it, but I wasn't going to film it, but I thought I'll show you. I'm making myself a stand for me plastering. So there's me board, so I want to make a stand to stand that on. My other stand broke because I hadn't used it in years, and I can buy one, but they're like 50, 60, 70 quid. I'm not paying that because I'm only plastering the bungalow out. I'll never use it again, so I'm making one. So what I've done, got some 2x2, cut the first one to the length what I wanted, so I use that as my guide. I then just clamped it on my saw like that, and I just used that as a guide for cutting my others. So I've cut 4. Oh, that's a rubbish piece, all the same size. So what I've just done now is I've found the centre of that, which is there, and then I've marked the centre of the width, and I've done that on 2 of them. I'm just going to punch myself a little hole, the length, centre of them and the centre of the width. So those are the 2 with a little centre punched holes there, look. So I'm going to set that on top of that one. I'm just going to pilot myself a hole through. Now I'm going to drill a 12mm hole right through. So I've got a hole right through them both. Going to get my bolt, put that through there. Put a washer on there. Set that one on there. Stick another washer on. Oops. And a bolt. I'll lock them up. Might be better, but this will do. There you are. So then the idea is that they will spin like that. So now I'm going to make another one of these, exactly the same. Right, so I now need to decide on the height of the legs. So if I was plastering using my stilts, I would have the board, you know, a lot higher up. It might be up to chest height, so that I can reach the board when I'm on my stilts. But because I'm going to be stood on the ground, so I'm going to make it somewhere around waist height, because I want to be able to get the plaster nicely onto my handboard off the board. And you've also got to be able to tip your bucket full of plaster onto it. So you don't want it too high, you don't want it too low either, because otherwise you then a lot of bending on your back. So I'll make it up to my hips, and then that'll be good. Is that my hips or is that my man boobs? Somewhere there. Anyway, I'll make it that high. So I've cut that one 800mm long. So I'll just cut another 3. So what I've done, that's my twisty frame for the bottom, and I've just sat it on 2 pieces of timber so that this frame will be that height off the floor, and that leg will glue and screw to that frame there. Should be able to get the idea now. Just going to screw another leg up there and one on there down to there. There you go. Works nicely. Nice height for me. When I'm finished, I can take it down and fold it up. Morning. It's been chilly the past few weeks with all frosts and one thing or another. So my mate felt sorry for me. Bought me a fire. Look at that. My first time I've used it this morning. Thank you very much. I'm just going to put the ceiling on in here. I'm just going to put some bonding on and form a curve up there. I could do it in skimming, but sometimes it can sag and that lot. Sort myself some scaffolding out. Oh. Jobs are good in there. I've got to get my bonding on. Well, I've got some bonding mix. I just want to fill some gaps on some edges along there. Get some scrim on. Apart from a few years ago where I did a bit of plastering for a couple of weeks, I haven't plastered in 30 years. I've been off my tools. So times have really changed. I've had these trowels on my working life, apart from that one. I started off with that one. It's done a bit of work because it's gone like a banana over the years. And that's all the size you could get at the time. Then I went to this one and I thought that was a beast when I got that. And then I went to that one. And that's all we used to use. Nothing else. Nowadays it's all speed skims, straight edging the walls, rubber flexible trowels. They even float the plaster now with a sponge float. I have none of them skills. I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way and hope for the best. But it's amazing how plastering has totally changed. So I've got all my buckets ready, all my buckets of water, everything's clean, so I best crack on. Oh God, oh, my bit of scaffolding moved. It's just totally off. When I started on my tools a lot of years ago, fibre tape, it wasn't self-adhesive, it was a cotton scrim, and you used to run a covering of plaster over your joints and then stick your scrim into that and put another coat over the top. And then when you're first coated, you're just doing between the scrims and then second coat over the lot. Nowadays this is so much easier, but all your edges, it would be Hessian scrim, and the Hessian was like a cloth sack, 4 inches wide, and you'd put that in, bedded in adhesive all around the edges, but it was thick rumblicious stuff. Well, I can only just bloody reach. So I've stuck my scrim on. Oops, that's my scaffold, just where I'm going to form my curve. Then all these other bits of scrim I'll put on. Just when I've got some bonding, I just want to fill these up. And I'll scrim everything. This room is really tiny, so it's difficult for me to film. I've only got such a small little piece I can show, so I'll just do my best. I'm putting one along the bottom of this fondant, and then I'll just pull up into it. I'll put the boards on first and I'll deal with the bonding. So it's all about leaving as less lines and big moves as you can. So when you're plastering, start at the bottom left and work away from your work. When you're so if you're right-handed, you'd start in the left-hand side. If you're left-handed, you'd start in the right. But if you was rendering, you work into your work. So you work away. So ideally you want big sweeps, which I'll get shortly once I sort this out. But if I'd have come this way, every time I come up, I leave a line, look, width of my trowel. But the natural way for me to come on this ceiling is up like this because of the way my scaffolding is. So ideally I want to be pulling up because it's just more comfortable for me. So every time I go up there, I flatten that line out over the width of my trowel and make it flatter. If I now pull my trowel that way, all I'm doing is moving that ridge from there to there. So it's all about flattening your lines. I haven't explained that very well, but I'll try and explain it a bit better. Oh shit, it's too low. God, can I just reach it? Oh, oh God, shit. Got a bit there where the scrim's pulling down, so the trick is to get that back up is to split it with your knife and it'll go back up. So I've got that bit there, and I've got a bit there. So that's it. Now that'll, oh God, that will flatten up. I'd normally leave this a little while just to go off, but I'm going to get the second coat on. I'd let it tighten in a bit, but I'm just going to get it on. I'm going to go straight over it and get it on. I'll normally let it tighten up a bit, but I'm going to get it on. So what I'm going to, it's difficult to film it, I'm going to go over now and just level it all off. So I'll just mix that 1 bucket of plaster. I've got these wind reveals on and the window head. I just want to give this another wipe over. This is just hanging a bit. I only put the 1 bucket on because I only wanted to be in here till dinner time, because I've got my work clothes to wash ready for work tomorrow and a load of washing and stuff to do. So I wish I could have shown you more and explained better about the plastering. Just such a small room, but I'll do better when I get on a bigger wall. Morning, it's a good start to the day. Light morning, so these early mornings are good. Cup of coffee. And I've got a heater on, just at the chill, so I'm happy. So what I've been wanting to, or hoping to do is, when I was plastering in the bathroom, it's difficult to show a wall, if you like, a full wall, so I can sort of explain the process. You know, just trying to pass a bit of knowledge on, just see if it helps anybody. It might not, but in my head I think it might help somebody. So we're going to plaster this wall here. One of the first things I'm going to do is put fibre tape over all the corners. And this is fibre tape, and it stops all your joints cracking. Anywhere like that, I like to run a diagonal piece of scrim across it. Just like that. It'll stop the plaster from cracking. Sorry about all the shadows, but I've scrimmed up all my joints, come across corners like that, come across bits like that, or where my board was a bit short and I've infilled it. When I cut my sockets as well, it was a little bit wide, so I've infilled it in. So I've put scrim down. Again, how you can see, and it'll just help the cracking, but you don't want to put your scrim over the edge of the socket because it buggers up where your screw goes in. Another thing which I've just done, I've scraped all the wall, so I did bits of filling in against the edges, so if you've any snots, just scrape them off. Even a little snot on the wall can affect your plaster when you're running over it, so just give it a scrape down. And another thing what you'd normally do, you'd normally do all your ceilings first before doing your walls. But this ceiling's a bit big for me to manage on my own. It's not big, but it's the height and the buggering about and all the mixing and cleaning up. So I've organised some help with this one. So just to keep me going, I just thought I'll put this wall on. So before you start mixing, you want to make sure you're ready to start mixing. So you want a clean working area. One of the biggest tips I can give you with plastering is keep everything clean. Your buckets, the floor, your whisk, your trowels, your handboard. Muck and dirt when you're plastering is one of your biggest enemies. So I've got a bucket with mixing water. I've got a dirty bucket for washing my whisk out. And I've just got another dirty bucket for when I'm plastering. So I'm going to be taking the plaster, not out of the bucket, I'm going to be using the table and stand. You'll see that when I put it up. One of the biggest things to do is to keep the outside of your bucket and the bottom of your bucket clean. It's just dirty, but it's not full of massive snots or anything. Because what happens is, or what can happen, when you lift your bucket up onto your board to empty all the plaster out, you get all bits of hard plaster dropping in it, or all bits of grit and dust off the bottom of your bucket. So always keep your mixing bucket as clean as you can. I'll just wet my whisk. Did that sound a bit risque? I'll wet my whisk. Your bags of plaster, look, they've got a pocket there, you can get your hand in to help lift them up. Don't be ripping your bags. Always wet everything before it goes, touches your plaster, then it don't just dry and leave loads of lumps. Make sure you're putting it all off your whisk. It's always easier to clean plaster off your stuff while it's wet. There's no need to be letting stuff go hard, knitting it with hammers and all such as that. Don't do any good. You need to wet all this and all the edges, because if you don't, as soon as you put your plaster on, it'll just suck all the moisture out and leave it like a dead elephant. That's what I was on about. You can get all grit in it. Oh, hang on. I'm just busy at the moment.
Oh yeah, I'll bring you back in a bit then. I just wondered if you weighed yourself.
Yeah, I've lost some. So now I've emptied my bucket, I'll wash it out while it's soft. You don't need masses of water. So that's the water what I whisked my whisk out in. Give it a swill out. Tip it back out into the bucket with the dirty water. And all the solids will settle to the bottom. Back in. Job done. So because I'm right-handed, I'm now going to start in the top left-hand corner and run myself a bead of plaster right across the top. You don't need to put masses upon masses of plaster. That's all you do is end up with a big blob in your corner. So just put a bit on the end of your trowel. Look into your bead, fill your bead up. Move a bit like that. You can just have a bit on your trowel. and just work your way along. This is only your first coat, you'll put 2 coats on. You don't need to have huge blobs of plaster on your trowel, because all it does is fall off onto the floor, and you're just paddling in it and a mess. I'll now come up the side, I'll just come from halfway. Just come from halfway, pull it up to the top. You know, just nice and neat, nice and tidy. Pull it into my bead. A bit of my trowel. Pull my edges in. You don't need big blobs of plaster on your trowel. Start from the bottom. Well, you don't actually have to start from the bottom. You know, you can come further up. Wherever suits you, really. You don't want to start right at the bottom and have your plaster curling out like that, because that's where your skirtings go, and then your skirtings end up not being vertical. Oh, he's on his knees. All the old timers will be up in arms. Just so I can see under there. Pull it up into the bead. You always work into your bead. Just fill from the bead into what I've just put on. You just need to feed fill from the bead to your wall, because otherwise you can end up with a holler. Especially if you go that way, always go that way, and it fills it out. There's no need to fill your sockets up with plaster either. Just go around them nice and tidy. Your electrician, I'll thank you for it, and it saves you loads of cleaning out. So I'm going to let that stiffen up a bit, just sit for 5-10 minutes, and then I'm going to go over it again with a second coat, but I'm not going to film that because my battery's going flat. I'll bring you back when I've done that. Right then, I've put the second coat on, and I'm now going to go and level it out, but with a methodology. Every time you put your trowel on, you leave a line or a ridge. And the idea is not to leave lines or ridges. So if this was a big wall, if you was a beginner, I would put my trowel in the corner and pull this way, pull that way, pull that way, go from top to bottom. I'd then do the ceiling, put my trowel, the edge of my trowel, in the corner and pull down and work my way along. Then every time you sit your trowel on the wall, it's going in a hard corner and doesn't leave a ridge. Then go to that side, put it in the corner and pull in. And then when you then go to the bottom and pull straight up all the time. If you're right-handed, you start in the left corner at the top and work away from yourself. And if you're left-handed, you start in the top right with plastering. And if you follow that sequence, you will get an half-decent job really, really easily. This is a bit different because there's a window in it, but I'll discuss it as I go through. So I'm now going to level it up, do any filling and tidy up the edges. So that's what it's like when I've put it on, my second coat. And as you go flattening it down, look, it just gets it tidier. You can see where it's just, where I've had my bonding compound. So it's just sucking the moisture out a little bit. So just a bit of water on it, that'll bring it back. Just work your way along, it's not a race. Unless she was on price. But even then, just nice and steady away. Don't fret about anything. You want to get as much filled now as you can. Because you keep getting bits of fat at every stage on your trowel. But what happens is, further down the line, it's just a coloured slurry. So it's not what you call proper plaster. It's got no substance to it. So over this trowel, and the next one, because you can only do so much at each stage till it's ready, otherwise you're just playing with it. Put your corners in. Your angle beads always take that way so that it fills this in here. In your corner. Shell in the corner. Pull in. When you trowel that way, right at the very bottom to flatten off the plaster where your skirtings go, so your skirtings don't end up curling out. And I'll just keep going over, levelling it. I need to turn my camera off, cost me GoPro's battery's going flat, but I'll bring you back later on. So I've been filling and tidying the corners. Run my trowel that way along the bottom so that you haven't got loads of snots coming out and kicking your skirtings out. All nice and clean around the plug. angle beads are clean. The windowsill is clean. Well, it's not covered in snots. And all filled and tidy under there. So this is after the first level out. So I'm flat, I'm clean, I'm tidy. While I'm waiting for that to harden, to go over it again, I'll use this opportunity now to clean my handboard, clean my board, just remove any snots off the floor. I've just put a window reveal on as well. So I'm just on with that as well, with a bit of stuff I had left. When you do these, you want to make sure you're square, you're not on a splay, that the bottom isn't kicking out like that. Same with the top. So when you do these, don't fill your trowel full of plaster and just go blob up there. Put your plaster on somewhere here, pull it into your bead, and then the residue you've got on your trowel, use that for filling against the edges. Then you don't blather everything up, and it's so easy to keep clean. From me levelling out, like you can see I've got a ridge there. So if I put my trowel on there, I'm going to make a ridge, look. Do you see? So you can see I've got that ridge there, and that's the mark I've just put on with my trowel. So if I pull that ridge that way, all I'm doing is pulling that ridge from there to there. You want to pull your trowel down that way so that it flattens out that ridge over the full width of the trowel. So ideally, if I start my trowel there in the corner and I bring it down, let's just get rid of it. Same with that one there. So I put my trowel up there, bring it down, gets rid of it. So have your sequence, you know, trowel in that corner, run it along the top, put your trowel there so the edge is on the angle bead, bring that up that way, put your trowel in the corner, pull it that way into that strip what you've just put up there, do that all the way down, then start at the bottom and flatten that by pulling up, put your trowel on its edge, do underneath the windowsill, turn your trowel that way and pull up into that strip you've just put there, put your trowel on there and pull that angle bead up, then your trowel in the corner, pull that way into that strip you've just done there, trowel there and pull up, and then that strip you've put underneath the windowsill, so you trowel that way underneath the windowsill, turn your trowel that way and up into that strip. And if you follow that same sequence all the time, every time you go over it, you'll find it extremely easy and you'll get a half decent job. Once you start learning it, you'll do things different and develop your own way, and you'll put your trowel in the middle of the wall and know you can get rid of it, make a mark, you know you can get rid of it. But that's a good basis for you to start. So that's an 11-inch trowel, that's a 14, and that's a 16-inch. I'd recommend, if you're learning, just to use an 11. With the 14 and the, well, for putting it on, with the 14 and 16, you can end up with quite a lot of plaster on your trowel if you're not used to it. You put it on the wall, it's all falling and sagging down and everything else. So I would put it on with an 11 and get used to it. A 14 and a 16 gives you more coverage for when you're levelling it up. I generally do everything with my 14 inch. I learnt the old-fashioned way, doing everything with trowels, whereas now they all have like speed skims. They float the plaster, they have a sponge float, they put the plaster on, sponge it all up, straight edge it. There's all sorts of ways nowadays. I'm just the old-fashioned traditional way, and it's just them, I'm afraid. When I served my time I had this one, and when I got a bigger trowel, God, thought it was the bee's knees. So you need to get your wall flat as early as you can, really. After getting your second coat on, I would say you're levelling up coat after you're getting your second coat on. Make it flat, fill all your corners, fill all your holes, clean down, get tidy. Then your next trowel over, you'll refine that, you'll get it flatter, you'll get final bits filled while you've got some decent bits of plaster left on your trowel, on your handboard. But then after that, all what happens is the slurry what you take off the wall, the bits what you got on your plaster, it's not like proper plaster, it's just a coloured watery slurry. So you think you're putting it on, filling holes, you're putting it on, but the problem is when decorators are rolling and that lot, it can end up flicking off. You know, you can see it in the roller, bits in the roller. You need to get it as flat as early as you can while you've got decent plaster. And the main thing is to have fun and enjoy it. So I'm just going to give this wall one more polish over. What you can see. I'm just going to give it one more wipe down in a quarter of an hour or so. Clean the glass, give that a wipe down. Make sure everything's left nice and clean. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and you maybe get a few tips, or you think, well, I'm not going to do that. You know, I do something better, which is all good. It's all about learning, isn't it, and passing on a bit of knowledge. So in my next video, I'll probably show some tiling, some wall tiling in the bathroom, I think. Before that, I'm just going to carry on doing bits of plastering and then a bit of tiling. So see you next time, and thank you for watching.